Okay, Mark, so here's a question for you now. What do you think the quickest way for us to burn some calories is? Swimming or going for a run?
That is a good question, and I know a lot of other people are wrestling with that question too.
Yeah, now I don't know about you, but I feel famished when I get out of a proper swim session.
Yeah, well, I guess this is a pretty tricky one for us given the nature of the two sports, swimming and running, particularly the swimming, because it's very hard to give a black and white answer from that one.
Yeah, you're right. So armed with our heart rate monitors, we've popped up here to the University of Bath, and we're going to do a little bit of data analysis, and hopefully that will shed some light onto this whole question.
Now, before we delve into the calories, we probably should take a look quickly at both of the sports, swimming and running, because both do have their differences, positives and negatives.
They do. Now, with running, well, you can do that pretty much anywhere. All you need is a set of trainers and you're good to go. Well, pretty much. Swimming, on the other hand, it's a little bit more tricky. You need to get access to a pool for a start, and then once you get into the pool, lane space availability is not always the easiest.
Yeah, and with that in mind, running is more or less free once you've invested in the kit, whereas swimming, on the other hand, will continually keep costing you as you have to pay for those facilities, unless, of course, you're lucky enough to be able to go wild swimming or maybe even have a swimming pool in your back garden.
Yeah, and then there's the whole social aspect, and running is a pretty sociable sport because you can do that whilst you are having a chat with your fellow runners, whereas swimming, well, you can do that before and after you've swum, but once you're in the water, it's pretty difficult to have a chat.
And not forgetting that running is more varied with more options on run routes, whereas swimming, wow, you're just following that black line in the bottom of the pool, aren't you?
Now, we are starting to sound a little bit biased here, but swimming does have its pluses as well. Now, for a starter, it is a non-weight bearing sport, which means that really whatever your weight is, you can get in the pool and start swimming without very much stress at all on your bones and joints.
And not to forget also, you can head to the pool at any point during the year, and I guess you know what to expect. You won't be affected by the bad weather outside or perhaps the muddy trails.
Good point. And also, let's not forget that it is an upper body workout as well, so we can make use of all those muscles that running and cycling neglect. So that's a pretty good positive, I'd say.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say they are both great sports, both with their positives. But what if you just want to lose some weight and burn some calories? Well, on average, running is 4 times quicker than swimming if you're competent at both, meaning you'll obviously run much further than you'll swim in a given period of time. So it's important that we use time rather than distance in our following experiments into calorie expenditure. Also, not forgetting that running is weight bearing, and therefore the heavier you are, the harder running can become. Then finally, the intensity at which you exercise will have the greatest impact, but this goes for both sports. So with all that in mind, how on earth can we compare fairly?
Well, to do this, we are going to be tracking our energy expenditure through the unit of calories. Now, this is actually the unit that you will see on the back of your food packaging, and it will often tell you how many calories are in that product, but shown as kilocalories. And it's these kilocalories that you will find displayed on your sports watches and fitness trackers.
Yeah, but how we record calorie consumption or expenditure in the pool is pretty difficult and somewhat limited because we can't just do a VO2 max test in the lab, which is often regarded as the most accurate way of recording this. Instead, we have to go for the next best, recording our heart rate, our speed, or our pace. And to make things fair, we're also going to do the same for the running too.
Now, there are plenty of these smart devices out there that can record our heart rate, be that on dry land or in fact in there in the pool. But you just need to make sure that you've put your right height and weight into there so that it can start doing the appropriate calculation for figuring out your calorie expenditure. If you don't have a smart device but want to estimate your calorie expenditure, then you can use a calculator such as this. Now, Mark and I have input our details and have a rough comparison for you here.
Now, of course, we did have to guesstimate a few things here, such as our equivalent pace or effort, and of course, it's limited by only having a couple of swim paces to choose from. Still though, we have selected paces that are within zone 1 to 2 for both of us, and it's given us a rough guide. Fraser, in theory, would burn 619 kilocalories for an hour's swim compared to 880 kilocalories for the same time running. Whereas I, in theory, would burn 623 kilocalories swimming compared to 826 kilocalories running over the hour. Both of us came up as burning more running than swimming. Fraser, 261, myself, just 203.
Now, to back this up, we're going to do our own experiment using the Polar Flow app and our own Vantage watches. Now, these already have our height and our weight, plus hopefully our fitness level recorded too, so that means that it will be able to calculate the calories that we are burning automatically.
Yeah, now to get some fair results and within a realistic time frame, we're actually going to do both running and swimming for just 10 minutes each, and then obviously multiply that by 6 to get 60 minutes or an hour. We are also going to do it twice through for each discipline, so 2 times running, 2 times swimming at 2 different paces. As you can see, we're at the pool, so we're going to start with a swim. First run though is in zone 1, so a nice easy pace. Well, now time for our second swim. This is going to hurt a bit more as we'll be swimming at our zone 4 pace, a threshold effort.
Having had a quick look at the calculations, if we carried on swimming for an hour, I would have burned about 703 calories working in my zone 1 and 910 calories in zone 4. Whereas Mark, nice and easy swimming in zone 1, burned 715 calories, and when he was working harder in zone 4, he burned a bit more at 936. So now it's time to head outside and go for a run.
Right, so we're going to be following the same pattern as before, 10 minutes in zone 1, followed by 10 minutes in zone 4. And I reckon, Fraser, we could probably do this first one together, given that it's going to be at an easy and conversational pace.
I would hope so, Mark. Now, I spy the start line over there, so I think we should get going. Now for the tough one, because we've got a pace in zone 4 to hold. So here goes. So now it's time to do some sums and reveal our results. In zone 1, whilst running, I burnt 732 calories. When I was running in zone 4, that upped to 1,022 calories. And for Mark, in his zone 1, he burned 758 calories, and in his zone 4, that moved up to 1,095 calories. So what we're seeing here is, over the course of our running zones, an increase of roughly 29 and 43 calories respectively, and whereas in our zone 4 effort, then that moved up to 112 calorie difference and 161 calorie difference respectively.
All right, well, our rather rough test there has shown that running burns more calories than swimming, which I'm not all that surprised about. I was kind of expecting going into this, but I was surprised by how little it is between the two. So I guess it does come down to whichever you prefer.
Yeah, it does, Mark, and I guess you've got to remember that swimming is a non-weight-bearing sport, whereas running is weight-bearing. That can put a lot more stress through our skeleton, leading to more injury possibilities, so you've got to be careful of that.
Yeah, granted, but then running is just pretty easy to do. You can just do it from your door. Not everyone has a swimming pool in their back garden, hey?
It's true, but I don't know about you, but I said earlier that you feel famished when you come out of a swim very often, and I think that is something to be mindful when we're talking about calories, because it's very easy to think that you have actually burnt more swimming than you possibly have, and therefore you can end up overeating compared to the amount of exercise you've done swimming.
Yeah, which I guess is an advantage to running, because if you're not feeling that hungry after and you don't eat as much, it brings us back to the calories in versus calories out, making sure that you stay on top of that. But ultimately, what I would say is that even if you are looking to lose weight, just enjoy sport. It is fantastic, and actually by enjoying it, you could, well, end up losing weight because you end up doing more sport. So it's a really important thing to remember.
Yeah, I think that is a really good way to finish the video. So hopefully you have enjoyed this, so please hit that thumb up like button. Find the globe on screen to get all the other videos that we've got here on GTN. And if you want to see a video about how to lose weight from cycling, well, you can see that one here.
Yeah, and if you'd like to see our video about fat oxidation and burning fat during exercise, then you can see that by clicking just down here.